Hey y'all, welcome to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Samantha Leighanne and I talk about books. Today we're doing another episode of the King Chronicles. Today we are going to be discussing The Long Walk. In my Stephen King journey, if you will, this is actually the second time that I have read this book. I read it the first time years and years ago, and I remember not really liking it, and I think that there's a couple of different reasons for that. I think the age that I was at, I didn't really appreciate what was happening in this book, and so this time around, this reread was very different for me. So today, we're going to be talking about this book. As always, this video is full of spoilers, so if you haven't read the book and don't want to be spoiled, I suggest you click away right now. You can come join the discussion after you've read it. And also, if you're interested in any other episodes of the King Chronicles, I will link the playlist up above so you can check that out if you so desire. So let's just go ahead and jump right into this. So The Long Walk, this is actually the second book that was published under his pseudonym Richard Bachman. The first being Rage, which we had previously discussed. It was published in 1979, and as far as genre goes, this is very much a dystopian. So this isn't like the typical horror that we have seen from Stephen King up until this point. It's very much real world, which from my understanding seems to be a common theme in a lot of his Bachman books, but we'll, I guess, see as we continue to go on. As far as my rating, I initially, the first time that I read this, as I previously said, I rated it 2 stars. I think a lot because I didn't really understand what was going on. However, this time around, I rated it 4 stars. I very much enjoyed it this time around, so fun facts, as I previously said, second Bachman book. It is published in the omnibus of the Bachman books, as well as published on its own in various formats, hence why I have this paperback, and I also have another mass market paperback that's really ugly that I got from like Walmart or something like that. And this book was actually listed by the American Library Association back in 2000 as one of the 100 best books for teenagers, which kind of shocks me because I read it as a teenager and didn't love it. So, but that is what it is. And this is for their list published in between like 66 and 2000 or something. And apparently this is actually the very first book that Stephen King ever wrote. This was written in between 66 and 67. As you all know, Carrie wasn't published until 1974, and he was 18 years old when he wrote this story, which I think comes through very much in the text. So we talked about what my initial thoughts were in my first reread. And this time around, I think that there was a lot more going on, and I definitely understood what was happening a little bit better than I did the first time around. Basically, what the story is about is it's 100 boys that are put into this contest, this national contest, the Long Walk. And basically they start out, they're given supplies, and they have to keep walking at a certain pace, and if you fall below that pace or if you stop walking or anything like that, you get a warning, and after 3 warnings you punch your ticket. So you go into this contest as one of 100 people knowing that only one of you is going to win, and that every single one of the people around you are probably gonna get their ticket. And that is absolutely horrifying to think about. Dystopian very much in the same way that The Hunger Games was. Battle Royale as well. It's also very interesting to me, the concepts and the idea, knowing that he was only 18 whenever he initially wrote this, and that's just wild to me because I certainly wouldn't have thought of that at 18 years old. I think one of the most unsettling parts of this book is the fact that there's really no central bad guy. I mean, I guess you could really make an argument for the Major, but I feel like he's just the face of it. He's not really like the person. And even though as you read the book, you kind of come to hate him, and the boys eventually come to hate him as well, every time he shows up, he kind of like motivates everyone along. Another thing is we're never really given a reason why this walk occurs, to my knowledge. Maybe that's something that I just missed. It's a thing that happens and nobody really knows why. You know, the person that wins, they win the ultimate prize, which is pretty much whatever they want, but at what cost? And each of the boys, as we come to meet a small cast of them, all of them have a particular reason for actually being there. And as we continue to meet these cast of characters and learn their motivations and learn why they're there, it becomes harder and more heartbreaking as you go, because like the reasons that some of these people have and just They're young boys. Like, our main character, Ray Garrity, is 16 years old. And that's just, like, mind-blowing to me that he signed himself up for this. I think that it's also no surprise that whenever you look at this and you look at when it was written, it was very clearly a metaphor for the Vietnam War. I don't think that that's masked at all. I think that's pretty evident from the very beginning. And by the time we get to the end, the ending is one of the most like unsettling and horrifying endings that I've read. Just the way that everything happens and just that feeling of bleakness that you're left at the very end of this book is just like, you know, most of the time whenever you get to the ending of a book, there's like this feeling of hopefulness, or, you know, that's generally the way that people like for their stuff to end, but this was just so bleak. So as far as characters go, there's a pretty large cast of characters, but we're only going to talk about a handful of them right now, just because I feel like there's only a couple of characters that are really important to the central plot. Obviously, our first character is Ray Garrity, seeing as he is the point of view that we're following, and he is the person that we're rooting for the most through this entire book. He's 16 years old, and I think the most interesting thing about his character is he doesn't actually really know why he's doing the walk. Most of the other people have a reason. So like one of the guys whose name I can't remember, like he's got a wife and a baby on the way, and you know, there's various reasons for everybody who's doing this, but Ray is just like, I signed up and my name was John and I didn't back out by the back out date, and here I am. You know, he's very much in it for like the glory. He is 16 and he's young, and so he thinks he's gonna win. So then there's a character, McVries, who kind of becomes close to Garrity as they go through the walk, and kind of really becomes a truth teller in certain aspects. You know, I think we know from the beginning that Garrity is going to be the one who wins this whole thing, just because why else would we be following a character who wasn't going to win? I think in a way that would have been brilliant, but McVries, like I said, he kind of ends up like that truth teller and like that voice of reason, or the reality check, I should say. It's definitely like a reality check. You know, they talk about various things throughout their walk experience, and at one point McVries says to Garrity, just as like a punctuation to the situation that they're in, is, you know, yeah, they can win and they can survive, but nothing, if they do survive, whichever one it happens to be, nothing is ever going to make up for what they did to survive and the things that they went through and that trauma that they're experiencing. The only other real character of note, I think, is Stubbins, and that he kind of almost becomes an adversary for Garrity at points. You know, at one point, Stubbins is picked as a favorite to win, and he's just very, like, slow and steady. He's really methodical about, you know, the way that he's conserving his energy and all those types of things. And so the boys come to hate him, and he does end up playing, like, some mind games with him as well. And then as we get to the end and kind of learn more about Stubbins, and we kind of actually figure out that he's an illegitimate child of the Major, that's, you know, kind of a revelation. You know, I think that he's really there to make us believe that our hero, Garrity, isn't going to make it. And his end is very jarring. The way that everything kind of comes to the end, it's just very jarring. And again, like, it's what makes the ending so horrifying, I think. So themes. The biggest theme, and really the only theme that I could find in this, is just the will to live, the desire to live, and how that drives us. You know, as I said, all of them are involved for various reasons and end up doing different things throughout the walk so that they do survive. And several of them push to the very, very end until, like, their bodies physically cannot do it anymore. And I think that there's several points where some people are like, I don't know how this person is still functioning. Like, I just don't know how this person is still functioning. And I think that that speaks a lot to, you know, as humans, what we're willing to do to survive and how important survival is, and like that survival instinct that we have. So I think that's really the only theme that I could find through this book. So as far as connections go, there really were no connections, seeing as this was the first book that he wrote, and this was published under Bachman, so it's not really part of the wider Stephen King universe. So this was a shorter one, but that's how I felt about The Long Walk. Have you guys read this book? If you had, comment down below and let me know what you thought of it. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Tell me all about your feelings. And though this one was short, next time we will be discussing The Dead Zone, which happened to turn into one of my favorite King books at this point. So you can expect a longer video when it comes to that one. But As always, if you guys like what you see and you want to see more, make sure you click thumbs up or hit subscribe if you have not already. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Bye.